This is going to be a short little video showing how to set up a controller for use in PicaSim. So if you don't have a controller set up, you can grab these the sort of virtual sticks and move them around and fly the plane. But obviously it's better with a controller. Okay, so I'm going to pause that up here and go into the settings. In the settings there's a joystick tab over here on the right, and I'm going to try enabling the joystick. So here, this is how things are when you load it up. So there's a bunch of sliders. So in each section it describes, it gives you the information how they're set up for each joystick channel. So we need to map the physical joystick sticks onto the kind of virtual joysticks in PicaSim. Okay, so to do that, then I've got the joystick set up. You can see it's obviously reading it because the numbers are twitching around and something's changed when I move the sticks. So I'm going to go through systematically and try and find out which of the physical joystick movements map onto the controls in the simulator. So I'm going to start off with the right hand stick and move it over to the right, and I'm going to look out for which numbers are changing. So when I move things around, then the numbers jitter around a little bit on the different channels. But here the main thing is that on joystick 0 the input goes to 1 basically. So when I move the stick to the right, the output goes to 1, and so I want to map that onto the kind of virtual stick on the right. So the mapping line here, I can slide it until I find right stick horizontal. Okay, so it's the right stick and it's moving horizontally, and so that's the virtual one I want to map it onto. And also, as I move it to the right, then the output goes up to +1, which is good. So I'm going to move on to the next movement, which is moving the stick up. So when I move the stick up, then I see, so now joystick number 1 is changing, and so I want to map that using the slider to right stick vertical. Okay, and the output goes to 1 as you move it up, which is right. So now we'll move on to the left stick. So I move the left stick to the right. Okay, none of these numbers are changing, so scroll down a little bit. There we are. And you can see in joystick 5, as I move it to the right, the numbers are changing. So this one is going to -1. So anyway, first of all I map it onto the left stick horizontal, and then I change the scale to -1. So that basically reverses the direction it moves. So now when I move it to the right, it goes to +1, almost +1, which is good. So then finally, I'm going to map the left stick, the vertical movement. So as I move that up and down, okay, then that's changing joystick input number 2. So you can see that it doesn't really map on. You might think that it's just going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, but it doesn't work like that for this interface. Okay, so the left stick vertical is going to be this one here. So left stick vertical, and when it goes up, at the moment it's going to -1 on the output. So I want to multiply by -1. There we go. So when you've set this up, when you center everything, then you should find that let's say the first two ones here. So as I move this right hand stick around, then you can see the input values are changing from -1 to +1. But when it's in the middle, the input values are not exactly 0, because there's a little bit of play and a little bit of jitter, and they're just jittering around. So there's a dead zone setting you can set. So when that's on 0, it just makes the output equal to the input multiplied by the scale. As you increase it, it basically throws away information. Throws away the information from the center of the stick movement. So here I generally set it to about 0.1. So that's kind of 10% of the movement is just thrown away. So hopefully any jitter stays within that. But if you're finding that the output is jittering around, then you probably want to increase the dead zone. Okay, so that was the analog inputs, and I know, I'm not going to go through it all, but this transmitter's got a bunch of switches, but my interface doesn't actually seem to pick up most of them. It turns out that just one of them works. There's this one here on the top right hand side. So I'm going to toggle, I can use that to, so here, lower down, you can map the buttons to various actions. So you can map it to changing the rates. So I'm going to set it to that. So that's used especially in the fish to toggle between two controller settings, high rates and low rates. But you can also toggle it to set it to prompt a relaunch, or change the viewpoint, or pause. Yeah, so they're the options at the moment. I'm going to leave it at setting the rates button. Okay, so that should be pretty much everything. And once you've done that, if you're kind of confident you've got it right, ignore that. If you click on the advanced button down at the bottom, then you get to save it. So I can save it as my radio control thing, settings. So click on OK, and that means that if you have a couple of different controllers, you can switch to a different one and then switch back to this one. Okay, so hopefully I've got that all right. So okay, that's good. So you can see as I move this stick, and this is the idea. So you can see on the screen the kind of virtual stick. As I move my stick to the right, it goes to the right, up and down, and so on. Just check over here. Yeah, that's right. And kind of we'll trust that that's working. So now we should be able to fly around rather awkwardly. So yeah. So that's kind of all. One thing to remember is that if you're setting up a controller, a gamepad, like I have an Xbox controller here, it's actually a little bit different because well, you set it up in the same way, but the gamepad controller kind of moves around in a circle, whereas the sticks here move around in a square. Try not to crash. Which means that on the gamepad you don't actually have the full range of movement. Hopefully I'm going to put in a little option in the future to let you actually kind of map the circle onto the square. But for now, if you want the full range of movement, you really have to use a transmitter type controller or the mouse if you want. Okay, well that's all. I hope that helps anyone that's trying to set up a controller. And I hope you enjoyed the simulator.